Yo el loco como con tono ronco. I am the flow bomb so cold just like snowball. Nah, tu inglés no te lo compro. Y yo a vos menos si no rapeáis bien. Ni en el idioma de nosotros. Who are you? Yo el loco como con tono ronco.
Yo, 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 yo. What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the MOP podcast, the Mario Berandi podcast. I'm here. I'm your host, Mario, and I'm here with a great special guest, David Ramil from 𝕮𝕳𝕬𝕬. He's a reporter, a superstar podcaster. So I'm very thankful for having him here on my podcast. So, David, thank you for being here with us.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. And I'm glad I could help and ready to talk basketball.
We're ready to roll, man.
Yeah.
We've seen. I wanted to get your thoughts. Obviously, I've been following you and your co-host on 𝕮𝕳𝕬𝕬 Heat. I'm a huge fan of 𝕮𝕳𝕬𝕬 NBA. They are a great platform. I think they are the only platform that has like a different podcast for each team and different sports. So shout out to 𝕮𝕳𝕬𝕬. Go and follow the main channel and 𝕮𝕳𝕬𝕬 NBA as well. So let's get into it. Once again, thank you for being here. And how much we've heard all this, Damian Lillard trade when he requested one from the Trail Blazers. He only wanted to go to Miami. How can I say it? How excited were you when this news came up? Obviously, it didn't go well for the Miami Heat side, but he went to Milwaukee. How enthusiastic were you when this news broke and he wanted to go to Miami?
Well, as a reporter, you always want to be able to cover superstars because they're the best players in the game. You love talking to everybody on the team, but a superstar, they're special. That's what makes them superstars. And they play the game better than everybody else. And Damian Lillard, he's one of the top 10 players, maybe top 15, depending on what you rank, but he's one of the great players, one of the greatest players of all time. And it was a perfect fit for Miami. So you start to think to yourself, oh, this is perfect. He asked to be to Miami, and with Miami, they're going to make it happen. He's been with the team for such a long time that you thought that they would make a deal to make him happy, but it didn't turn out that way. But my excitement level was pretty high because, again, I was going to get a chance to see Damian Lillard almost every night, to be able to talk to him in the locker room and to be able to see what kind of a person and player he is. And also, it was the perfect fit for Miami because you've got two great defenders in Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, and they just complement what Damian does so well. And you saw what happened in the NBA Finals when Miami couldn't find a way to score. And so he answers a lot of those problems for Miami because he could shoot from so far. He can drive to the rim. He could put up a lot of points, and that's exactly what Miami needed. So to me, it was going to be a perfect fit. But you know what? That's all in the past. I have no problem with the way the Blazers did their business. I understand they were trying to get the best deal available, and it didn't work out. So we'll see how it plays out in Milwaukee, too, because that's a very good team and a fun one to watch.
And a direct rival to the Miami Heat. A report just came up like 12 minutes ago. It says Portland was set to send Damian Lillard to Miami. However, comments from his agent upset Blazers officials, leading to them to pivot. The agent's remarks embarrassed the franchise. Well, we obviously all saw that his agent, Goodwin, I think his last name. He was very open about going to Miami. Then the league got into that. It's like, stop talking about that. But it's in the past. Like you said, obviously it would have been great for you. Obviously, you're a reporter. You are there. I watched the interview with the players, like dunking the Orioles. It was amazing. And it also, gives a little twist, because being a reporter, I don't know, because I just got this platform and I'm talking. I try to be a student of the game and try to have, work ethic and things like that. But I'm not a reporter. Obviously, you go into the locker room and you got direct access to the players. But it gave like a little spring, like a little twist on that dynamic with the Orioles that Josh Richardson was doing with the Fork. So it was great. The next question that I have for you, obviously, we've seen that maybe Miami is like worried. Maybe that's not the right word. Worried about getting deep into the luxury tax. Do you think that maybe that was one of the reasons maybe that they didn't pull the trigger on Damian Lillard, and we've seen Bill before. It was like linked to the Heat. KD was linked to the Heat at some point. What do you think about that specific point?
You know, I think there's a lot of different people speculating about Miami and the front office and what Miami may or may not have offered for Lillard or for Durant or for anybody else. I think there's some truth to that. They don't want to spend too much money. You know, Mickey Harrison did lose some money with his Carnival cruise lines, especially during the COVID pandemic. Nobody was going on cruises, and so maybe he took a little bit of a hit that way. And maybe there's the reality that he doesn't want to spend as much money, especially now with a change in the rules. You know, the new CBA, there's this second apron, and it's going to cost tens of millions of dollars for him to be able to go and spend as much as he does. And look, there's also the thought process is he's willing to spend. He's shown in the past that he's willing to spend the money, but he's willing to spend the money on a surefire championship contender. And maybe he didn't believe that was, you know, what was going to happen. He didn't think the team was as good enough to be a championship contender. You know, I don't know. I've heard different things. I've heard there's concerns there that they didn't offer that much. And I also see the other side of it is that whatever they offered, Portland wasn't going to accept anyway, because like you said, they were upset about Aaron Goodwin. They were upset about the trade request. They didn't want to send him to Miami, and they went out and got a better deal from Milwaukee, or at least one that they thought was a better deal. You know, and that's all there is to it. You know, if Mickey wants to spend the money, I'm sure he'll go out and get that superstar, because look, they're already paying a lot of money. You got Kyle Lowry for $32 million, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler. They're all making, you know, tens of millions of dollars this year. That's a really expensive team. And so to add Damian Lillard to that roster, you know, that puts a lot of pressure on Mickey Harrison and his wallet. He can afford it. At the same time, I can understand why he doesn't want to spend that money.
Yep. Can we maybe say that obviously this didn't pay out. Lillard is going to be playing for Milwaukee. Do you think that maybe Pat Riley, that I gotta say, he built, obviously, quote unquote, built the Miami Heat, the most successful franchise, the most successful expansion franchise without a doubt. They've been very, very successful. 3 championships, like 7 trips to the finals, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And but you know, so what do you think about maybe this question? Like, can Pat Riley and Mickey Anderson can they be putting their eyes maybe on Joel Embiid or maybe another star that can come to the Miami Heat?
I don't think that's a chance this year. I think if Philadelphia is going to make a trade, it would be next summer. And I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say that Embiid to New York is probably a lot more likely. And the thing for Miami is the only way that they would be able to trade for Joel Embiid is to trade Bam Adebayo. And I don't know that Miami wants to do that. And so we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. They're always going to be looking for superstars. I just don't think that there's going to be another available. We saw in Philadelphia right now, James Harden, he wants a trade. Miami doesn't have any interest. So they want the right kind of player. They want the right guy that will take this team to a championship level. But if they don't get a guy like Lillard or Embiid or anybody else, they're happy with the team they have. And as you saw last year, they're good enough to go to the NBA Finals. They just might not be good enough to win it.
And Eric Spoelstra, he said that the team nowadays, or this team, is way deeper than the team that they got last year. I wanted to get into like Jimmy. Obviously, I'm pretty sure you saw the GM survey for this year, and one of the questions was which player is the best leader. I did a show this morning, and I said, it's not because you're here or you're covering the Miami Heat, but if I have to say which player is the best leader, I would have to say Jimmy. Jimmy comes to my mind when it comes to leadership and being one of the best leaders. Do you think that? What do you think about that assessment?
I think leadership is different to different people, and I know Jimmy, and I know the kind of guy he is. He pisses people off. He's not easy to handle. So, you know, you saw what happened in Philadelphia. Some people hate him. Some people love him. In Minnesota, the same thing. Jimmy's going to be Jimmy no matter what. And he's a guy that shows you, look, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. And if you want to come along with me, that's fine. And if not, I don't care. I'm going to do what I need to do in order for us to win. And I just want you to do your best. And a lot of people, you know, they respond to that. They appreciate it. But some they don't really like that style. Maybe they think it's a little too rough. But I agree that I think he's a great player and a great person in the locker room. But I can understand why some people outside of Miami, they don't see that leadership quantity. They think he's a problem in the locker room, that he's just too much of a jerk, that he's too selfish in some ways. But I agree with you. I think he's a great leader. I think he's a really good teammate. And everybody who plays with him, look, he might be rough on the outside, but everybody that plays with him, they always say the same thing. Jimmy's just great. He's a great guy. I love Jimmy. Jimmy's just being Jimmy. And they just accept who he is. And he brings out the best in them. We saw Max Strus, even Max Strus playing in Cleveland right now. We always saw him kind of get yelled at by Jimmy, but he loves him. He loves that kind of accountability, you know, that he takes his game to another level, because you see a guy like Jimmy work so hard to be so good. It kind of makes you want to be better too.
And Jimmy definitely is someone that you want to go to war with, you know, to be in the trenches with. Jimmy is a hustler. He's a hard worker. And sometimes, and we saw even with Eric Spoelstra when Udonis Haslem has to get into separate the scuffle. But Jimmy is a great player. What can you tell us about covering Jimmy, like being close to him? Obviously, we saw his emo look during the media day. It was a great sensation. What can you tell us about covering Jimmy in a closer space or a closer environment?
He's funny. He's really smart, really funny. And at the same time, he does not like dealing with reporters. He knows that it's part of the job. He doesn't like dealing with us. And he gets used to answering the same questions over and over. And so sometimes he just gives you the shortest answer possible, because as soon as he's done, he can get out of there, and he doesn't have to deal with us anymore. So that's just, we got to get used to it. Some guys don't like it. Personally, I've liked Jimmy Butler for a long time, even before he joined Miami, and I always appreciated his style, and I can understand it. Look, he'll give you a good answer when it's a good question. And if you get him talking about coffee or tennis or one of the things that he loves outside of basketball, he'll talk for hours, because he just loves that kind of stuff. But when it comes to answering the same questions about basketball, he gets a little tired of it and he just wants to get out of it. But he's a great guy to have in the locker room. Plays some really some of his music choices aren't that great. You go to the locker room.
Country music, right?
I'm not a big fan. But he likes playing the country music. But he plays a little bit of everything. R&B, rap, whatever you call it. He has a lot of different choices. He has a lot of different music styles. But he's loud. He's funny. He's just a great guy to talk to in the locker room. I really enjoy Jimmy on this team.
That's amazing, man. And we obviously saw the quotes from Jimmy when he said, I got it here. He says, and then we're going to suit that shit up in October, and I'm going to whoop your ass again. And we've been listening to Jimmy saying, we're going to get over the hump. When they got eliminated against the Celtics, he said, next year, we're gonna be here, and we're gonna win this. We're gonna win the Eastern Conference Finals, and he did it, and they did it. And then this year he said, "Oh, I'm gonna win a championship. I think we're gonna win a championship." Every year I said it, I meant it. What do you think about that? That approach of Jimmy? Because a lot of players they wouldn't say that. They would try to keep that private and have a political correct, message. And, we are going to compete. We're trying to be the best that we can and blah, blah, blah. But Jimmy's very direct. And sometimes when obviously Jimmy, every player would love to win a championship. But I like the fact that Jimmy's open, like motivating and speaking into existence, maybe, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember talking to some of the guys when Jimmy his first year in Miami. And, they went to the Orlando bubble and they made it all the way to the NBA Finals. And then talking to guys like Goran Dragic and Kelly Olynyk and others, the way they just talk about Jimmy, as soon as Jimmy got to Miami, nobody thought they were going to go to the playoffs. And he said, and we're going to win a championship. And he kept saying that all the time inside the locker room, not anybody to media. He kept saying, we're going to win a championship. And eventually all the guys believed him. They at first they were like, oh, what is this guy talking about? He's crazy. Yep. And then you start kind of believing, and you go, it's
like a mantra, right?
Yeah. He really believes this, and he inspires us to play better. We work harder because of a guy like Jimmy. And they've been so good over the last 4 years. They just haven't won a championship, but they've been a very, very good team since Jimmy got here. I'm never going to count Jimmy out. I think he's, again, one of the great players in the game today, and he always finds a way to play better when it matters the most. And I think his style of just saying, I think we're going to win a championship, again, he believes it, and he wants others to believe in it and to work just as hard as he does. So to me, I love it. I think it's great. I think it's a great leadership, to your point earlier. I think that's just a way you inspire all the guys in the locker room so that they want to go to war with you.
And he's putting the work, because a lot of other players can say that, but they are not putting the work, getting right there early, staying there late. I really appreciate Jimmy, and he's a superstar in the playoffs. So definitely, I rock with Jimmy. Let's get into Bam. I gotta be completely honest with you. I'm not really a big fan of players like demanding respect. We saw LeBron in the bubble, Embiid with the MVPs, Bam Adebayo with the Defensive Player of the Year considerations, and being snubbed of the best defender in the NBA. What do you think about? And obviously Eric Spoelstra too. He said, "I think Bam is the best defender in the NBA." Obviously, everybody wants to be recognized for what we do, right? What do you think about putting that as a goal, or what do you think about talking about that?
I think it's a good goal for him to have, and I think honestly he's been disrespected by a lot of reporters and media people that vote for this award, and they don't recognize what he does. And me and my co-host talk about it all the time. But he's so good at defending 1 through 5. And a lot of people say that, coaches say it, players say it, but he's the very best at switching to a point guard, to your center, to everybody who's on the floor. Bam Adebayo and maybe Giannis are really the only 2 guys in the NBA that can guard 1 through 5 really, really well. And that's been for a few years now. And nobody seems to notice it because, when it comes to an award like this, you want to see that he has 3 blocks per game, or that he has 3 steals per game, or that he does. That's not who Bam is. Bam just makes things difficult for everybody that he's guarding. And the point that I always like to make is, let's say he switches onto a point guard. Let's say he gets a screen and all of a sudden he switches onto Steph Curry. Any other center in the league, Steph Curry is going to try to get past him, or he's going to try to shoot over him. But when he sees Bam Adebayo, he passes the ball away. So there's no way of showing a statistic that measures what Bam Adebayo is able to do. But he just kept Steph Curry, one of the best shooters, if not the best shooter in NBA history, from doing anything. And that's the kind of play that Bam does every night. He does that when he switches onto a guard. All of a sudden, there's no shot, there's no attempt, there's no way of showing that Bam's defense was great, but he was a difference maker in that play. And he makes up so much for everybody else on the roster. If there's a mistake by some other guy, Bam's there to clean it up, and he does so much of the dirty work. And a lot of times it just never gets noticed. So to me, I like that he wants to make that as a goal. I think he should have been defensive player last year. I think he should have been defensive player the year before that too. And I think he will be defensive player of the year this year. I think he deserves that kind of recognition. But he works hard. He does all the good things. And he's a great guy in the locker room and a great guy to talk to. So for me, I have no problem with making that a goal and putting that out there and saying I deserve some respect, because I think he has been disrespected. I think a lot of people overlook what he does and they don't take it into consideration.
That's a great point, because Jaren Jackson, he had a lot of blocks, but he didn't play a lot of minutes. Sometimes with Caruso too, he didn't play a lot of minutes, a lot of foul, and like you said, Bam, very very quick feet, and 1 through 5. I don't see like a lot of players being better than him. In the survey, he didn't make the who's the best defensive player in the NBA, which is crazy. He didn't got a vote in the who's the very best perimeter defender in the NBA, who's the best interior defender in the NBA. He got a vote in the most versatile, but it's crazy. He's the anchor of the Miami defense, and Miami got votes as the best, one of the best defensive teams in the league. So, but that's a great point, that you have to watch some things in the game, during the game, and sometimes not have to rely too much on statistics, right?
Right, absolutely. I think that's a good point, and I think it's one that has been a problem for him for years, is that he goes and plays this great level of defense, but then if you don't watch him every night, and no reporter is watching another team every night, you just don't see it. You can't do it. There's only so much time in the day, and so you don't see what Bam does unless you're watching him, like I am, like all the reporters in Miami are. You don't see what he does every night.
Yup, that's a great point. I got a question for you. This is something that I thought about last couple of days. Do you think that we've seen maybe a comparison with Jerry Jones, with the Cowboys? Do you think that Pat Riley is obviously, this is my speculation. I don't know nothing about the Miami Heat, but I don't know as much as you. Obviously, do you think that maybe Pat Riley, they won before with Wade on his rookie contract with Shaq? That was a big name, Shaquille O'Neal. Then they got LeBron. Obviously, they got Bosh, they got Wade. Do you think that maybe, obviously, the main goal is to win a championship, regardless who's on the team? But do you think that maybe Pat Riley wants to win a championship and build something that is not like related to superstars like Shaq or LeBron? That obviously LeBron got a lot of the credit. Do you think that maybe that's something, or what do you think about that?
No, I think he knows that you need superstars to win, and Pat's never had a problem with that, whether it was Kareem and Magic Johnson in Los Angeles or whether it was Patrick Ewing in New York. Like, he likes guys that will do the dirty work, but he likes superstars, and he understands you need superstars to win, which is why he's always gone after a guy like Shaq or a guy like, LeBron. You do what you can to build that kind of roster. And look, he tried to get Kevin Durant. He tried to get Damian Lillard. It didn't work out. You move forward with the roster you have. There's only so much you can do. I think they have two stars on the team with Jimmy and Bam. I think those are two. We saw the recent ESPN rankings for players. Bam at 16, Jimmy at 12. That's a great team. That's a team with two superstars. It's just they're not the kind of superstars that a lot of fans like because they don't put up 40 points or 35 points per game. They're not high volume scorers. They just pass the ball well. They don't make mistakes. They defend well, and they score just enough to win. So they're different kind of stars. But I think when it comes to Pat Riley, he likes them both. He likes guys that work hard, and he likes superstars because he knows he makes winning easier when you have superstar players on your team.
And we can say that would be like a perfect landscape, right? To have superstars and to have work hard players like blue collar players. We got a comment here. Jorge Whitaker, shout out to Jorge, always supporting my channel. Perhaps Miami needs a better record or regular season for Bam to get Defensive Player of the Year. What you have said, and I've thought about this before. Miami has the formula. Miami has the formula to do things big. They know that obviously maybe Jimmy doesn't take that's not a good way to say it, but Jimmy is like he plays cool, he plays good. He wasn't an all-star last year. He was an all-NBA player, but I think Miami definitely has the formula to get things done. It's like they are not trying to get 60, 50 wins. Obviously, that would be nice, but what do you think about that the regular season record obviously maybe can help Bam to get an award?
Well, they did it 2 years ago. They won the Eastern Conference. They got the first seed in the Eastern Conference. They were a very good team when they got Kyle Lowry and PJ Tucker. Bam played great defense, and then he missed a bunch of games, and they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. He didn't play in enough games, even though 2 years before that, they had given it to Rudy Gobert, who played even less games than Bam Adebayo. So it's always like they say in English, they're always moving the goalposts, right? They're always changing what the criteria is. So you never know when it comes to Bam. They just, like I said, I think there is a little bit of disrespect, and they don't appreciate what he does. If you win 60 games this year, then they're going to point to Jimmy Butler, his scoring, or Tyler Hero and his scoring. They're not going to look at Bam. At least I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take, because at this point in time, I've seen Bam play defense ever since he was a rookie, and I know what kind of a player he is. So I don't know what other reporters are looking at when they see his style of play. They just don't like it. 2 years ago, when they gave it to Marcus Smart, that was ridiculous. Like, Marcus Smart is a good player, but there's no way in hell that he's as good a defender as Bam Adebayo. Not a chance. And again, there's just a lot of reporters in Boston. They love when Marcus yells and screams and does and flops all over the place, but Bam is just outworking everybody. And I don't think it makes any difference really if they make it. I don't think it makes a difference if they win 60 games or not.
Oh yeah. So shout out to Jorge. Shout out to everybody that's watching us. I'm here with David Ramil from Locked On NBA. Locked On Miami. Locked On Heat. My bad. We got Ispo got a lot of votes as being one of the best tacticians in the game, the best coach, obviously, in the game by far. I don't think that's an argument. What makes Ispo the best coach in the NBA to you?
He talks to everybody the same way, whether you're Jimmy Butler or a guy who's trying to fight for your NBA life, and he talks to you and he tells you exactly what you want to hear. Like that's so much of NBA history is about a coach telling guys what to do and not treating them with respect. And I don't think that doesn't work in today's game, and it probably didn't work back then either, but you just kind of got used to it. With Spo, there's a level of respect there. He appreciates what you do. And as long as you're willing to work and follow what he's teaching you, then you'll be able to achieve success. And I think that's a big part of it, is that he tries to figure out what you do well, and he takes your game to another level. And that helps you as a player. It gets you paid. It gets you that next contract. If you're willing to do the work, you're going to be successful. And I think that's something that every player recognizes about Erik Spoelstra. So the way he communicates, the way he plans ahead, he works as hard, if not harder, than any coach in the NBA. And I think that's something that's always been a part of who he is. And he just, again, there's a very consistent way of doing things in the Miami Heat locker room. And Erik Spoelstra is a big part of why that has worked so well over the last, 15 years now he's been a head coach. So, it's a good point. It's a good point. You were just making Erik Spoelstra. He's got all this respect from the GMs. Never won a Coach of the Year award.
Wow, really?
Yeah, never.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
One of the top 15 coaches in NBA history, never won Coach of the Year.
I said this morning that when I was doing a episode of the GM survey, it's like, obviously he's the best coach in the NBA right now, but he's an all-time great coach. And the fact that he has never won a Coach of the Year is crazy. It's crazy. He got some votes for who's the best coach with the defensive schemes, best in-game adjustments, motivator, manager, and best head coach in the NBA. But that's crazy. And one other thing is that he started from the bottom. Started from the bottom. I think he started as a video coordinator, and he has earned his way up. And obviously, due to his hard work and to his professionalism, he has someone that has his back like Pat Riley, right? We saw that maybe when LeBron got there, it was a little bit of, but Pat Riley stood and said, we are not going to fire. This is the coach, Erik Spoelstra, and we've seen the results.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. I think he has the support of the locker room, and Pat Riley recognizes that he's the future of the franchise. He's the voice of the franchise, and they've been happy to have him on this coaching staff since he first joined. They knew he was ready for big things ever since he joined the team.
Yo, we got here Gobert over Bam. What a joke! Wow. Yeah. It says, well, not giving those awards to those who really deserve them only hurts the credibility of the awards. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. It's just there's always going to be different rules and different criteria for how these awards are given. And so, it's a matter of opinion in so many ways. You can't measure it just for – it's not like saying the guy who scores the most points in the NBA isn't an MVP. That's never been the case. There's more to it. It's a matter of, like, you play defense. You make other players better around you. Do you work well as a teammate? Those are important factors to consider. So there's a lot of different things that go into the award selection. So I criticize some of the awards and how they're given out, but I agree that it's just it is tough to say that they have the kind of credibility that they should have, given the fact that some awards are just so ridiculous. Like, again, Bam should have gotten it over Gobert and over Marcus Smart too.
At least Tyler Hero got a 6th Man of the Year, right?
Yeah.
Like, at least it's something.
Yeah.
Let's go into Tyler Hero. Obviously, like a player like Jaylen Brown, his name has been in a lot of trade rumors. I saw him play in the first preseason game. He was the point guard, very aggressive, shooting a lot of threes with confidence, letting the ball fly out. What do you see about him? Like, maybe coming back with an attitude? I don't think that, because I think the way that the Miami Heat is set up, I don't think he can be like pouting or like having an attitude. I don't think that that's going to happen. But what do you think about the whole Tyler Hero situation coming back after the rumors?
I think he understands it. And I think, I've made the point before, he was in trade talks for Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell, and Damian Lillard. That's pretty good. That's like, That's like saying that I'm going to get traded for Adrian Wojnarowski or another podcast superstar, Zach
or
Lowe,
Shams.
let's say. Yeah, exactly. And if that's the case, it's like, you know what? That's not too bad. I think they recognize that Tyler is a great player who works really hard. They love him. But, there's questions about his defense and whether or not he can take his game to a superstar level. And if that's the case, then go after the superstar that's already there, whether it's Durant or Lillard or somebody else. But as far as his attitude is concerned, he's always been a great guy in the locker room. The team loves him. They respect him. They like who he is. And they want big things for him. They were willing to give him that contract and pay him because they love who he is as a player and as a person. But I don't think he has any bad feelings about the team. I think he recognizes that it's just a business, and he knows, again, that to be traded for Damian Lillard, it's not a sign of disrespect at all. And I think he's going to use that motivation, though. He's going to be a little upset and be like, that everybody – I think the really big factor is that people said Miami went to the NBA Finals because Tyler got hurt. Because without him there, they played defense at a better level. They were able to get some scoring for guys like Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, and they shared the ball a little bit more instead of having to go to Tyler for him to get his points. And so I think that's what he takes personally. Not the trade talks, but the fact that Miami went as deep and as long in the playoffs as they did without Tyler Hero. I think he sees that as a sign of disrespect. So I think he's going to use that as motivation this season. And like he said, in game 1 of the preseason, very motivated, inspired. He had a great training camp. Everybody's talked about him taking his game to that next level. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I would actually think he might be an all-star this year. I think he can be that good. So we'll see how it plays out.
And he was very open about going to Portland. He said, Portland is bad. I didn't want to go there, so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Obviously, and he got hurt in the first game of the playoffs, right?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And do you see him as a starting point guard for this season?
No, I do not. My co-host on Locked On Heat does. I think it's Kyle Lowry still. I think they're going to go with the same lineup they had last year with Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, and then Jimmy Butler, Kevin Love.
Oh, but Tyler Hero a starter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
As a shooting guard, not as a point guard. He's going to be the shooting guard for this team. I think they're still going to have Kyle out there as a starter. I think Tyler as a point guard, he can do just the right things. He can make plays for others, but he really looks for his shot a lot, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. I think he's a good passer if he has to, but I think he's mostly a bucket getter, a scorer, and I think that's his best role. So I think Spoelstra prefers to have Kyle Lowry out there to kind of manage the game, get the ball to the right players in the right situations, and then let Tyler do his thing and go out there, be aggressive, and be the best scorer he can be.
Yep, we got another comment says, and Ben Simmons, Rookie of the Year. Wow. Wow. He was battling with Donovan Mitchell for the Rookie of the Year, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. That's why it shows the award. Look, I mean, he was a great rookie. That's not taking anything away from Ben. It's just the career has changed, and things are different, for him and around the NBA. But it's okay. Again, the Heat doesn't worry too much about awards. They like it, and I know that Bam uses it as motivation. But if they win a title or they win a lot of games like they did last year, he doesn't care about it. He's told me that much.
That's a great point. The last question that I got for you, David. I'm here with David Ramil from Locked On Heat. Once again, shout out to everybody that's watching us. Shout out to David for coming here. What about the young core of this Miami Heat? Obviously, y'all drafted Jaime Jaquez. You also got Robinson, who's a big man, and you got Nikola Jovic, which is also a part of this young core. Do you think that I forgot about someone?
No, I think that's pretty much it at this point. You've got Jaquez, Jovic, Orlando Robinson. No, I think that's everybody else is kind of on the bubble. We saw Cole Swider have a big game in the preseason in the fourth quarter. He hit some big shots there. He's not part of the young core moving forward. I think that's you talk about the young core. Tyler's still young. Like, he's been in the league for 4 years, but he just turned 23. He's still a young player too. He's as old as Jaime Jaquez. So, I think that's something that a lot of people don't consider with Tyler. It's like, he's never going to get any better. It's like, well, he's gotten better and he's still young. There's a lot of room for him to continue to improve too. So I like the young players. I think they can all work really hard. They all have different skills. I think Hawkins is going to be a really high energy guy that fans are going to love, because we saw him in that preseason game. He just does not stop. He's up and down the floor. He's making things happen, kind of throwing himself around out there. As long as he can be a consistent scorer with his energy and his defense, I think he's going to be a really good player. And with Jovic, you know, there's so much potential there. We saw in the FIBA World Cup, he could be a really good playmaker, a really good scorer. He just has to take his defense and rebounding to that next level so that he could earn more minutes from Eric Spoelstra. But I'm optimistic. I think he has a big future, and hopefully it'll be here in Miami, because I've seen some people suggest that maybe he needs to be elsewhere in order for him to succeed. But I think he could do it here too.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. You got a perfect place like there in Miami to flourish. What do you think about Haywood Highsmith? Can we maybe put him there?
You know, he's not really part of the young core. He's a guy. He's a role player. He's another one of these undrafted players. You know, so he's been around a few years. But I like Haywood. He's a great guy, really good defender. I think he can do a lot of things, bringing the ball up and kind of initiating offense a little bit. And as long as he can be a consistent three-point shooter, then he's going to get more playing time. Right now, he's just one of those guys that you don't know exactly where he fits in the rotation, but I think he's going to have a nice year for Miami.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we saw Jovic in the World Cup shooting a lot of threes, and it surprised me that Jaime Jaquez was running the pick and roll with a big man. That surprised me. And as you mentioned, high energy guy.
Yep.
And they are in a perfect place to flourish. So, man, once again, thank you for being here. It was a great episode. I think everybody will enjoy it later if when they watch it. I really appreciate it, and I'm gonna continue watching Locked On Heat. I try to learn as much as possible about every team in the NBA. In my channel, I talk about every team in the NBA. I don't follow just one team, but I learned so much about you guys, like managing the show. The chemistry between you, the questions. I try to pay attention to as much as possible, and try to learn as much as possible too from guys like you that are reporters that have been there in the locker room and obviously are very close to the NBA. So once again, man, thank you for being here with us.
I appreciate it. That means a lot to me, and I've been doing this a while, but you know what? There's still room for all of us to grow. But you know what? I really appreciate that people are watching our show, and you've got a great show. You're a great host. You're putting the work in yourself. So this is you got a bright future too, my man. And so thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you. So go and check and subscribe to the Locked On Heat YouTube channel. They do a great job. So shout out to David and shout out to everybody that will be watching us later. So until next time, this has been the MOP podcast. We'll come back another day with another episode, with another banger. So once again, thanks to David for being here with us. I really appreciate it, man.
You got it, man.
Thank you, man. Take care. And until next time, shout out to everybody. Thank you for being here with us. This was the MOP podcast. Peace.